You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it.
Yes.
And now, your hosts, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a super special episode of Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. We're at the top of the charts, counting down every Marvel Cinematic Universe film ever made. Tonight it ends. My name is Jordan Lowe.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth.
And the three main members of Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast, are doing the picking tonight. But we've had a couple of guests over the last few episodes, and we thought they should come back for the finale to at least hear what's going on and throw in their 2 cents. We've liked their opinions on all this stuff so far. So joining us tonight, now might be a really good time for him to podcast. That's his secret, Cap. He's always podcasting. It's Jesse Starcher.
What a great intro right there. I love that. That's good stuff. Glad to be back, guys. I'm glad you brought me back. I'm excited.
And joining him, genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, coach, mayor, Jared Lowe.
Happy to be back. It's nice to be. It feels like we didn't screw up the list too bad in the first two tries. So, we got invited back. So that's nice. So yeah, happy to be here and throw my 2 cents in.
There was only one way to do this. Anyway, you guys pulled it off. I looked at all the possibilities, but
All right, so if you listen to our previous 2 episodes of this, we've counted down from 32 to 22 in part 1, and then from 21 to 12 in part 2. So now we're doing the top 11 Marvel movies. It's all gold from here. These are all great movies. We love them. We'll see where they're going to fall, though.
we already spun the wheel to prepare for this. We already know what picks we have. Before we do that, do you have the list? Do you want to count down what we have picked so far?
I can do that. 32 at the bottom of the barrel, Doctor Strange. We've heard some feedback that was not a unanimous choice, but that's all right.
Yeah, that was feedback from me.
31, The Incredible Hulk. 30, The Eternals. 29, Thor, The Dark World. 28, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. 27, Captain Marvel. 26, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. 25, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. 24, Thor, Love and Thunder. 23, Thor, the Original. 22, Iron Man 2. So that was episode 1. Episode 2 was 21, Spider-Man Homecoming.
Oh,
We're still a little miffed about that one.
We slipped in something there.
Yeah.
20,
Game that's played.
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. 19, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. 18, Iron Man 3. 17, Black Widow. 16, Avengers Age of Ultron. 15, Ant-Man and the Wasp. 14, Spider-Man Far From Home. 13, Captain America The First Avenger. And 12, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So hey, if the movie is better than Guardians 2, it's got to be pretty good to be above that on the list.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of controversy there in that second episode. But overall, I think we came out fairly unscathed. It was a little sketch there, a couple things, but we made it out. Like I said, we already picked our slots and special powers. I'm going to tell you what they are. Let's see. Cliff won the spin, and I already lost my list here, so I have to cut this out. Oh, Cliff won the spin. He picked column A. He has picked 7, 4, and 1, and he has 2 vetoes. Jordan got second pick. He got picks 9, 8, 5, and 2, and he has 1 veto. And that left me with column C, picks 11, 10, 6, and 3. I have 1 veto and 1 veto override. But I also have last throws, basically, like in darts. I get a last chance before I got to use my veto. They all got to go before me, so I got last pick there. So I started off. I'm just gonna get going here. I'll admit I'm a little nervous about this. We've put in a lot of effort into this. As far as thinking about it, I personally, my tactic was to actually rewatch these movies. I know that's not everybody's tactic, and I wonder if they even know what movies they saw. But I'm rewatched all these movies. I'm gonna cut right to the chase. I tried to slip this into the bottom of the first slot. So I here at pick 11, I'm fighting Jesse. Tried hard to get Ragnarok in the top 10, and I'm fighting it and putting it right here at 11.
Oh my god!
That's why I liked you having this column, having the first 2 picks.
Yeah,
you will be brutal and just chop the bottom.
Yeah,
I
I saw what you were doing there, and I'm fine with that. I don't. I've got notes on all these movies. I don't have any notes on this. I feel like we talked about it before. If there's anything anybody wants to say, it's a really good Marvel movie. Taika Waititi, he got, funky with it. We got a lot of humor. Thor, funny. It had a great opening. Him, chained up there, and just, it's a fun movie. I like a lot of other Marvel movies better. So, but Jesse, I'm just curious, just because you were beating the drum for it so much, what are your thoughts? Because did it really even come up there in the middle,
Oh yeah. So I have this.
So nobody wanted to mention it because no one wanted to remind it was still
I
on
know
the list.
exactly.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be quiet, and there was a point where I think Cliff was getting ready to say something. I'm like, oh man, he's going to say Ragnarok. I know it. He's going to pick it, and I'm going to have to do something. And he didn't. And I was so relieved. I was like, yes, okay. So my agenda was to get Ragnarok at least here.
Yeah.
I have it at number 7 in my top.
Honestly, I would imagine that on a lot of these lists, it's in the top 5, for the masses there, a lot of people go for a fun movie, and that's
yes.
so it's not crazy,
Right.
it is a good movie.
Yeah. So I enjoyed myself when I remember watching it for the first time and going, this is a character that I really did enjoy the first Thor movie. The second Thor movie was, I didn't hate it, but it was okay. But to take this character and add this, this swing of humor to it was great. Now, I haven't watched Love and Thunder yet, so I know there's been a lot of criticism about that movie in regards to how far they took the humor. But Ragnarok was perfect for me. The visual style was great, and just how much I could laugh at Thor and not be imposed by the cosmic stuff that usually scares me. So that's why I had it up there. It was such a it was such a what's the word here, where it made me go, okay, this wasn't what I was expecting. It was such a surprise. Surprise is a good word. I'll use that. Surprise. It was such a surprise to have that happen.
Yes.
And so there you go. That was my argument for at least getting it. I'm glad I knew it was going to be at number 11. Like, I knew this the day after the last podcast.
Me too. Me too. I thought if I have the pick, it's going to number 11.
I knew it. All right.
Yeah, I'll say, doing this the last couple of weeks, it seems like I think Seth and I are pretty in sync on a lot of these. It seems like from the things that we like with a lot of these movies. This is probably the one with maybe the biggest delta for when it comes to between Seth and I. So yeah, this I was not, adamant on getting it into the middle. I did have this in my top 11, but I had it right around here, right? So I'm okay with it, getting. Of course, I don't have a say, but I love this movie. But yeah, I like some of those Avengers movies better, so I'm okay with it being in this area. I think Jesse made a great point too. I think part of the reason, as we're going through this list, we ranked those other Thor movies pretty low. So even though they're great, it's like this one, it was so much better than Thor 2, right? So I think that kind of helped boost that of like, man, Ragnarok was great. Like, because you kind of went into it thinking, Thor 2 wasn't great. And so, yeah, when you're comparing it to all these other Marvel movies, yeah, it's not top 3, it's not top 5, but it gets kind of that boost of being really a shot in the arm of that specific franchise with Taika Waititi coming in, and it works. So I think
it kind of fixed the character. It kind of fixed, his whole take on playing Thor. He became so much funnier, and you found out how talented that he is at that and could lean into it and still be a hero. So, it's great. It's a great movie.
Yeah, Jesse, I had it at number 7 also.
Oh.
Yeah, it's exactly where I had it. And not to rehash anything,
you got two vetoes.
I know I do.
You're at the spot where I was last time when you had your 2 picks back to back and you knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. But go ahead, sorry.
No, I would just say not to repeat myself on things I've said before, but this movie I remember watching it and thinking I should love this, but it's kind of meh for me. And then the more I watched it on repeat throughout the years, the more I liked it every time. And I got to the point where I really liked it. And I think that's partly because the movie contributes a lot of that storyline with Thor, a lot of it with Hulk, contributes so much into down the line, in further appearances, even getting into Infinity War and Endgame, and where they become in that situation. And I kind of feel like a lot of, for Thor and for Hulk, a lot of that really kind of started right there with Ragnarok. It became more than, they had some stuff in the first Avengers movie together, which was fun and funny, but not in the capacity of just these two being off-world in a weird place and with a different storyline of where, it's not just, more or less them smashing everything up to win, to get out of there. There's a couple times where, they get beat or beat each other or whatever. And it just shows you, especially with Hulk, that whole scene. I love that whole scene where we just kind of see his home there, as he settled in. He's Hulk all the time. He's developed, a friendship with Valkyrie, as the Hulk, not as Banner, and there's a little bit more personality we see that kind of, flows downward through the rest of the movies. Gosh, but I really hated that number 11.
Pretty low, man. It's not the top 10 for sure.
Yeah,
and it could have been in the bottom third, so just take the win.
Don't talk him out of using vetoes.
Yeah, I think I would be more comfortable, a lot more, and be a lot more okay with it at number 10 than number 11. Just because
if this makes the top 10, I am just so thrilled. I'm thrilled.
It's a moral victory for all you Ragnarok fans.
It really would be, wouldn't it? If nothing else, getting it out of that number 11 spot. But I'm a little afraid of what he might what else he might stick in there that I'm going, hey, I want that
Oh.
higher. Is the only thing.
I'm not out to hurt anybody tonight. I will say that.
Okay.
Unless somebody cuts me first.
Because it
So,
can happen.
No wrong answers, anybody.
wh-
No wrong answers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting theory.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle between you two guys. It's fine.
No, one thing about our list so far, I do feel like it's not one-sided, to the point where like one or two of us just, it really falls into, all these are the movies I like and I want them at the top, and these are the movies I don't like, I want them at the bottom. I feel like we've got a pretty good mix going on just in both of the shows we've done so far.
And we've
because-
agreed like 95% of the time.
Yeah, it's
so
kind
Yeah.
of
I don't know
amazing.
if
It has
that's
totally
good or
amazed
bad.
me
Yeah.
how we're all kind of vibing.
Yeah. So number 11, I'm gonna let it go.
Oh, not in the top 10. No Ragnarok in the
as
top
much-
10.
it-
Cliff
it
can live with
stings.
that. Ouch.
It
It's gonna be-
stings.
you don't have to. Still last chance. You can still veto that.
Still a worst to first.
That's where you put the that's bait gif.
Mm.
Anyway, what you got there, Jordan? What do you think about it? You like it too?
I also will not veto it because it definitely would have been in the middle third of my picks, but as a crowd favorite, fan favorite, I'm fine with it being in the top as well. So it's one of those ones I can see it on cable. I can watch 10 minutes of it or all 2 hours of it and still just enjoy it. It's still a fun movie. Like all these, we nitpick it the day it comes out and find all these little problems. But as the years go by, we just, that stuff fades away and you just enjoy what you got. So, hey, I'm a Waititi fan. And as far as Thor appearances, this is probably the best of the bunch. So 11 it is.
All right. So that takes us into the top 10. So everything before this doesn't even count. Especially
I hear you, Seth.
I'm just kidding around. No, but the top 10, this is where we're getting serious. And this movie I'm about to say is not in my top 10, my personal top 10. Ragnarok wasn't either, but this movie I had definitely a few slots higher than Ragnarok, but not in the top 10. So I'm gonna have to put it here at 10. Great movie. But if I was gonna have a Spider-Man in my top 10, it would be Homecoming, not No Way Home. So we got Spider-Man, No Way Home, top 10. It's a great movie. I love it. I like all those. I think he's a great Spider-Man. I like multiverse stuff too, and I love bringing the Peters back, all of that great stuff. Them supporting each other, bringing all those villains back. It was an amazing achievement, and I love it. But I love so many of these movies, but more. So this is going to be a solid top 10. I don't mind it being in the top 10. Like, it was close to my top 10, but it wasn't. I would like that Guardians of the Galaxy 2 to have slipped up into this, but you guys got to do what you got to do, so I'm doing it back at you. Cliff, what do you think about this here?
Yeah, I'm curious what Cliff thinks.
I mean, I tried to push it into the last show, so and got vetoed or something.
He doesn't even like Spider-Man, any of them.
I agree. This was the best one out of these movies.
There was no James Franco, at least.
Yeah, thank God for that. But I had this. Yeah, it's got to be at the bottom.
Jordan.
My problem with this one is I only saw it the one time because it's not on Disney yet. It's, you know,
Mhm.
I didn't
Yeah,
rent it or stream it or anything.
yeah, I just
So,
I rented it a couple like 3 weeks ago and watched it.
so my only frame of reference is being in that theater where people were cheering, and it was like an event and a moment.
Mhm.
And I've still not quite decided, is it a great movie? It was a great experience, but was it a great movie? And I'm not sure. To me, like Homecoming, I've had enough time. Yes, I love Homecoming. I think it's a great movie. No Way Home, I haven't been able to objectively say that yet. But for what it is, what it was, what it accomplished, having the three spider dudes there, like it's great stuff. So I was going to have a hard, if wherever this ended up on the list, I was going to have a hard time deciding. But being in the top 10, I won't complain. Have some spider representation up here is better than none.
Yeah, it's great because of what it did and the event that it was, and I loved. I mean, I loved that experience. Having watched it since, you know, it's a little messy, and it's not the just classic that Homecoming is, with that great Keaton villain and everything. You know, it's just, that is just a perfect Spider-Man movie. And this is a very exciting kind of a stunt, you know, that they pulled off that was really neat. Now Jared, you talk first. We're gonna let Jesse go last on this.
I'm fuming over here.
I mean, you had to have a Spider-Man in the top, right? I mean, yeah. So
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm glad this is here. You know, I personally had Homecoming ranked higher than this, so we got that one was a little out of whack, but that's okay. I'm in the same boat as Jordan. I've only watched this once, and so I don't think I've had, you know, we've talked before about a lot of these that we've watched multiple, and you have all the fallout from these movies that are, you know, 15 years old, like mean more, and so we kind of tend to like those a little bit more. Yeah, this one's, it's pretty new still, and I don't know exactly where it'll fall, kind of, you know, when I have a few viewings of it. But yeah, I mean, it was yeah, like Jordan said, it was a great experience. I like the movie. I'm glad we've got a Spider-Man in the top 10. That's what I'm saying.
Why are we wrong, Jesse?
Okay, the word event was thrown out there, and this definitely
Stunt.
was an event, not a stunt. This was an event, guys.
And they managed to keep mostly under wraps. Like, there were all the rumors,
Yeah.
but nobody
Yeah.
knew for 100%
I mean,
sure.
We knew
until
Tobey
you were in
Maguire
that
was
seat.
working out.
Right.
When you look at, what are we talking now? 22 years since the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man
Yeah.
hit. Was it 2001,
Something
2002?
like that.
21 years. So this was the movie that like brought all this fantastic cinematic history into one movie, and these three characters shared a screen in one of like most Marvel plots that I have seen on the screen. Legitimately, like, these villains are coming across into our reality, and we gotta, three Spider-Men have got to get together and try to fix this. And now, granted, we kind of got a preview of that. I don't know if you call it a preview, but Into the Spider-Verse came out before this, right? So am I correct? Okay.
Yes.
All right, just making sure. But so, you know, animated, that's fine, but this was live action. These were two characters, three characters, three actors that we grew up knowing, like, oh man, these guys are going to be great Spider-Man. And each of their development just in the movie, as short as it was, I mean, how can you like discount Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man and his arc in that movie? I mean, there's just so much great stuff that happens in this. And of course, I had it at number 3 on my list. It was up there.
That's totally legitimate too. Like I there's so many of these movies. Like
Right.
there's so many of them that are great. I think they're all great. This top 10 is going to be all bangers.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would say, if thinking about, so the movie that came out right after this one was Doctor Strange. And talking about, doing a stunt, like the Patrick Stewart stuff in Doctor Strange, that was stunt, right? I mean, what did that really? He was very stunty. Did I just cut out?
You were just a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway,
He sounds like
yeah,
a
I like this
keyboard.
one.
Anyway, it sounds like he's auto-tuned.
I can't tell whether Qbert likes it or not, but
I take his point though. Like Jesse said, it's super comic booky,
oh
but
yeah.
they came up with a plot that justified doing it. Yeah, some other stuff you could just see as, oh, here's a fun thing we could do. Stick a cameo in here or there. But this had emotional stakes and like I said, people tying back to said you maybe took your kid or were a kid when Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man came out, and now it's decades later, and the whole world has changed, and you have a whole different perspective on it. So there's definitely some emotional weight there.
I mean, I really do like this movie a lot. So Jesse, I don't think you are way off with us. It's just
7 slots off, apparently. But
yeah,
that's all
true,
right. We'll
true.
I think I have a feeling that's
well. Let's
think
about this. Cliff doesn't like Spider-Man.
Yeah,
we like another Spider-Man movie better. Yeah. And you have got what? Like, how many years running have you bought a issue of Spider-Man every month?
My boy's 13, so it's 13 years running.
Okay, so yeah. This is the where we're off here,
and that's fine. I mean, I can't wait to see what the rest of this is going to be.
Yeah, if I looked at somebody else's top 10 Marvel list and this was in the top 5, I would be not surprised or shake my head at it. Okay, so no vetoes. I'm guessing. That takes us to number 9. Jordan has the number 9 pick.
This is easy. It's just going smooth.
Yeah.
So with that pick,
luckily we gave no vetoes to Jess.
Cash them all in on
secret
one.
Guest veto.
Oh shit.
So with that
we have to do that. We have to do that in the future. If you're on a list and you don't use your veto, you can keep it and come back and just randomly pop in with a guest veto.
Write it down.
We hear ding dong and
So Spider-Man No Way Home was the last film standing from phase 4 or 5. So all those 2 phases have been eliminated. So all the picks left tonight will be from 2019 or earlier. Do with that as you will.
Yeah. Almost like things have went downhill.
Mm-hmm.
We love them all, everybody. All right, pick number 9. I'm just going to do what everybody else does and power through. And this was the next one.
Yeah.
Numerically, mathematically, listically, this is where I'm at. I'm going to say Black Panther.
Black Panther, number 9. Tell us what you think of Black Panther.
February of 2018. This was smack in the middle of phase 3 as we were kind of hitting between Ragnarok and Infinity War. So I mean, we were living the high life, you guys. Love this movie, love what it did for the Marvel Universe and for the American culture at large, world culture. His appearance in Civil War was just mwah. It just whetted your appetite. Like this character, this actor, Chadwick Boseman, perfectly cast. Such a strong, intriguing character that's been an Avenger for decades. Oh, we wanted to see his solo movie. We wanted to know his story. We wanted him to get out there, and they knocked it out of the park. It's a fantastic movie. The end falls apart a little bit with the CGI fist fighting and the trains and stuff. So
It's
many
the
of these
Underground
movies,
Railroad.
so many of these movies fumbled a little bit in their third act just because it has to be that superhero smash them up. But that's such a minor point. Then you get that ending sitting watching the sunset. Like, oh, come on. The villain, Michael B. Jordan, the supporting cast of all these amazing character actors. Like, I don't like this being my first pick, but it deserved to be in the top 10 for sure. But like I said, I got some other favorites ahead of it. So here's where I'm putting Black Panther.
Cliff, you're next in the order here for vetoes.
I'm glad he picked it and I didn't have to. I had it just a tick above this, but much of what Jordan has said pretty much rings true. I really like this movie, and I'm sure talking about experiences, this movie was an experience for a big part of the country when this thing came out, and it really was an event to go see, much like that, the 3 Spider-Men. But yeah, I don't the only thing that bothers me about this movie again is that I've said it before, that the ending, the CGI gets a little to be desired in that final fight scene, but man, it's still a good ending. I still love it. Wish we could have gotten some more of it. I was thinking about that night we were doing a podcast and the news broke, and as we were sitting here talking, I don't even know what we were talking about, but I remember just the feeling of finding that out, like, damn, this was
That he died.
when Chadwick Boseman died. Yeah. So yeah, number 9, Black Panther. I'm okay.
Yeah, I love this movie also. I mean, I had it just a tick higher also. I mean, love the villains in a lot of these movies, and this is another great dink villain I'm going to go with. He because like the movie's called Black Panther, and Killmonger, Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger, is like almost like what you would like a civil rights era version. He's stealing from the museum, and
he does bad things, but the reasoning behind why he does it, we're kind of like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, he's telling, do you think your ancestors paid a fair price for these artifacts? Telling the guy at the museum, and his plans, his ultimate plans were, that when Black people were getting oppressed all over the world, where was Wakanda? Yeah, that all ends today. He said, we're going to arm all these people, and like, just very militant, but just a exciting, character, and everyone
dealing with the idea of like privilege, where T'Challa grew up rich in Wakanda, and he grew up in Oakland, seeing a different side of the world. Like, of course you're going to have different political viewpoints.
Yes, it was so good. Everybody in it's good. I love this freaking movie. I don't have it much higher than this because I love all these movies. So I'm not going to touch it. I like it right here just fine.
Yeah, this is right about where I had it on my list as well.
I will say, we have to mention the Wakanda forever, the phrase Wakanda forever. When this movie, like, that became such a huge thing, came out of this movie, like, it's big.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, if I recall correctly, the box office on this thing was crazy. Like, I mean, it was a cultural phenomenon, unlike, a lot of these other movies we've been talking about. So yeah, it was, definitely deserves a place here in the top 10. And yeah, the second, a lot of these other movies we've been talking about, Marvel struggles sometimes with the compelling villains and things. And yeah, this one knocked the villain out of the park. Probably maybe my favorite, 2 or 3 villains that's ever been in any Marvel movie. Michael B. Jordan. So yeah, good stuff. This, like I said,
That sounds like another countdown for someday.
Yeah, I had Black Panther at number 9 as well on my list. I've watched the movie, I think, like maybe 2 times, but I'll never forget watching it with my kids at home. And it was like the weekend that Infinity War dropped. And I just remember watching this movie, and I'd been on the fence all day about taking the kids to the movie theater because, trust me, that's a chore, especially when they're pretty young. And I was like, I really don't know if I want to go. And then this movie, as soon as we watched it, hit the end, I'm like, we're going. We got to go. We got to go watch how things are going to shake down. So took the kids with, and we went and watched Infinity War. But watching this movie, I mean, it was great. Again, it was another visual feast that Marvel put out there, and not a character I'm super familiar with, but Chadwick Boseman was just amazing. I learned a lot about the characters watching the movie. And yes, my kids ran around here. Wakanda forever. Yeah. So number 9, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's matching up with me.
It was your kid's favorite movie for a while too, wasn't it, Jared?
Yep, it was.
So yeah, I forgot about that quirk too. So Black Panther came out February of 2018, Infinity War April 2018. So that was, I remember them talking about the filming, like they were filming Infinity War, and the actors from that had never, they obviously hadn't seen Black Panther. And then the troops, in Infinity War, as the troops are doing the chanting and the slamming on the shield, like no one had ever seen. They're like, what is happening? Like it was like the people on set had a moment, because like, the Black Panther crew was so in sync there. So yeah, I forgot that those two were so close together in the schedule.
Yeah, I remember a woman at work when that movie came out saying, she just knew they all know that I would watch, that I watch a lot of movies, period. But just like definitely that I watch these kind of movies, and she was like, "You saw that Black Panther, yeah. Was that one any good? I just don't think that one's for me or whatever." I was like, it's a movie. It's a good movie. I ironically, she doesn't think Barbie's for her either. So I don't know what is for her. I don't know.
But I do remember some stuff of like that whole, do I have to see X to see Y? Like that was a big deal, because people who don't get out to the theater wanted to go to the theater for Infinity War, because that was, you had to see it.
Right.
But not everyone got out to the theater for Black Panther. So it was like, oh, do I have to see Black Panther? It's like, yeah, you really should.
Yes. All right. So that takes us to the number 8 pick. This is Jordan again.
Can we just keep talking about Black Panther to stall? So I don't have to make this pick.
Oh, you got to make it. What are you going to do? Wait a minute.
Make them nervous.
Wait a minute.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, no.
I don't know if he's indecisive or if it's more along the lines.
No,
like
I think
he's afraid.
I think I know what's happening here.
I've got like after this pick, I don't care what's like. It's like everything is good on my list, right? Everything is amazing. But I have a pick that would be divisive.
It's one that you don't think is amazing?
It's one I like the least out of you three, we'll say. Even though I like it very much. So I don't know whether to do the safe thing and do the pick that you guys will agree with, and we all just float on. Or
no, I think you should just pick what you want to pick. It's
Yeah.
totally fine with me.
That's what I do.
Well, in the spirit of Cliff, this is where I would have Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's what I thought he was going to do.
I know you guys will disagree with me, but I got to be true to where I'm at. Love it to death. But ... I've never been a cosmic guy. These weren't my favorite characters growing up. I didn't collect these, these appearances from guys like Star-Lord and Rocket, which puts me in the same boat as 99.9% of America when this movie came out. No one knew what this was or what it was going to be, and it became a phenomenon. So I have nothing bad to say about the movie. I just have more good to say about everything else. So where this would land on my list, it may not be the KPP consensus, but this is where I would have it. And I will admit, I still have I'm a little bit fuming from when we did that list, let's say like 8 years ago, of all the best modern comic movies. And you guys sideswiped me and put The Dark Knight at like number 7.
I don't even remember.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? And you guys are like, yeah, Dark Knight, whatever. And like Guardians ended up being number 1. And the whole night I was just flummoxed. I'm like, what are you even talking about? So this is my revenge.
Yeah.
Putting Guardians of the Galaxy at
Man, he holds on to it for a
That
long time.
That's a grudge.
This
folks.
dish best served cold.
Jeez, that's an icy cold revenge. Who'd have thunk it?
Wow.
Man, diabolical. Cliff, if you're don't talk about it too much if you're gonna veto it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'll veto this one.
Okay.
I've got
Cliff's vetoing this. He's got 2 vetoes, and I think that's why he picked this slot, so he'd have a couple vetoes in case something like this happened. So we'll talk about that later. Jordan,
I know.
how'd that revenge work out? It's your turn to pick the next movie.
That was probably a mistake. So yeah, the only other movie left about this slot, I would have to do Ant-Man here.
Tell us about Ant-Man.
Little guy rides on ants. Just such a tonal shift. All right, so this came out into phase 2 right after Age of Ultron. We have set up the Avengers. We've had all the origin stories, except Black Widow, of course. We've learned who all these great godlike
all the
heroes
guys.
are. Right, the important guys. And then comes Scott Lang, the Ant-Man. A world of difference between these characters. Like we've said before, it's not world shattering stakes, it's smaller stakes. It's a family story. It's a guy and his daughter, a guy trying to go straight, getting out of prison, trying to connect with the estranged family, meets Hank Pym, this cranky older former hero. The dynamic between all the characters are great. Stacked cast, hilarious, great effects. Just maybe the funnest movie on this entire list. So I love Ant-Man. I love what it did when it came out. Again, we had Guardians, which had more of a humor tone, but this just went all out on the fun action adventure comedy side of things. And yeah,
Cliff?
great.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Ant-Man too. Well, I love Ant-Man 1, 2, and Quantumania.
Also. Yes.
Also. So yeah, this feels more about right for me. This was the heist movie. Gave us a totally different you want to talk about movie experiences. This was a tonal change. It was just a lot more fun. The consequences didn't seem to be as high. And we got to watch 2 guys in suits throw trains and toy blocks at each other and whatnot. And who would have ever thought this movie had no business of being this good. I will say the first the 2/3 before tonight, I did not bother to go back and watch any of the movies. But it's been a month, so I thought well, maybe I'll go back and watch a few for the top 11. and kind of do a little refresher
I
here.
figured you were. Baskin Robbins always finds out, Cliff.
So I did. I went back and watched most of these movies that were left, and
Good answer.
it did probably change. It did change my initial top of the list a little bit. Going back and rewatching it and remembering how much I loved some of these more than a few others. So, and some of them were better than I had remembered. Some of them weren't. But yeah, I'm okay with Ant-Man here. I had it towards the bottom of my top 11 anyways, so yeah.
Okay, yeah, I had this in Black Panther flipped. I had this just one lower than Black Panther. They're both freaking great. I love this movie. It's such this is the guy we could relate to. This was the normal guy, that wasn't a spy. He was just a guy. Yeah, he was a thief. But he had a family, and it's kind of he's divorced. He's having to deal with that, and I like their relationship. Just really, I like that dynamic in the movie. It gave it even a positive feeling, and the whole thing with his daughter is great. It's just a fun movie that was such small stakes, literally, no pun intended. But I love all the size things, and it's hilarious. And Luis is hilarious. Michael Pena, it just takes it over the top.
Yeah.
Incredible Marvel movie. And it slots in great at number 8. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I sounds like I had same as you, Seth. I had, Black Panther one tick above this one, so I would have had maybe flipped them there, but that's pretty ticky tack. It's same spot that I had it here in my list. I was just looking at it. So yeah, we've got an Ant-Man in the top, an Ant-Man in the middle, and an Ant-Man in the bottom. So good representation throughout the list. From
they just get
trilogy.
worse.
Yeah.
Every time they make one.
Seems to be the case.
I don't know if that's what they're going for, but all right. What do you think, Jesse?
Well, I was just going to say that I had it at number 11 on my list. So it was, you guys mentioned there wasn't a whole lot of stakes. This is a very, down to earth,
Yeah,
kind of street level deal that's going on here. Granted, we got some not fully street level. This isn't Punisher street level, but we got some elements of the fantastical happen here. You got just like you said, we got a guy shrinking down to the size of an ant, and we got all sorts of fun things happening where they're using those powers left and right. The train fight was just great. I should say the fight on the train tracks and the large Thomas the Train, but that's why I had it at my bottom of the 11. All these films are great, but there really doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of stakes here for some reason. So that's why I had it down there. Not that it was bad. It's just that, I'm looking at the rest of these. I'm like, okay, there was some stuff going on in these other movies. This was a fun romp. So I agree with everything you guys are saying.
We're at pick 7. Cliff.
I get to pick something. That's fun.
Yeah. Finally, Cliff's first pick of the night, guys.
Yes.
He got a lot done here without having to do anything. Seems like he mostly agreed with what we've been doing. So, except for
the catbird seat.
Yeah. So things are working out for Cliff.
So, gosh, number 7. This is going to be a pick that I have already made on a previous show because I tried to jam this thing down in the middle section. So Captain America: Civil War. I rewatched it, guys, and turns out my opinion didn't really change. I still like it. I still feel like it's on a really small scale compared to what it should be, possibly, or what we got eventually. But it's really good. It's neat how they did, put Tony and Steve against each other, with both having valid points or valid points of view, with neither one being, 100% right and 100, or the other one 100% wrong. For the most part. But yeah, it's I've already talked about it. That's how I feel about it. I'll let you guys hash it out, and what you think.
Jordan.
I did rewatch. I had a 4th of July Capathon during
Ooh.
Independence Day. I rewatched the Cap trilogy because it had been a while, and I love all the Cap movies. I especially love this one, and spending so much time defending it on this show and in private conversations, it's actually moved up my list since we last recorded. Like,
Ooh,
the
wow.
more I've thought about it, I'm like, that is such a good movie. But I also don't know. It's so close to a couple of other movies. Like, I'm having such a hard time saying X is better than Z. Yeah, I have one veto. Is this worth throwing myself on this grenade?
Depends on how far you think how far you want it to go up.
But then you might replace it with a movie I find just as good. Or better.
Well, we've only got a few left here. So
yeah, that's the problem.
It's
There's no wrong choices. I said it myself.
I mean, aside from somebody making one crazy pick in this top 5, which could happen, I understand your struggle.
Well, I know for a fact you won't pick anything I have lower than this left on the list. So your replacement would have to be higher than this. So mathematically, I probably shouldn't do anything at all.
There you go. Play in the game.
I think I believe I vetoed his attempt to put this in the middle of the list last time. So I was pretty adamant in defending this one as well. I know when I kind of thought back through it, and I did not go back and rewatch these. I don't get paid like you other KPPers, so I didn't put in the hours that you guys do, But yeah, the more I thought about it, this one just kept creeping up my list. I mean, it's at the very top of my list, just so you know. So yeah, this is a little lower than I would like to see it, but first appearance Black Panther, first appearance of Spider-Man that we all love, right? It's great. I love Civil War. And I can't remember if it was when we talked about, like, the thing that people maybe criticize of, like, all that airport battle. It's like, oh, it's only 8 people run around. And I said, the more I think about it, it's like they knew what they were building up to 3 years later in Endgame.
Right.
They knew they were going to give us what we were craving when the time was right. They knew better than we did. We may have maybe said, oh, I wanted more from that fight in Civil War. No, we didn't. They knew better.
That's right.
We wanted it in Endgame. We didn't want it in Civil War.
Talk me into it. I'm gonna veto that.
My
God! I
gosh.
adore this movie, and I'll take my chances.
Wow.
I wanted a little bit.
In a shocking move.
Wow.
I owe you. I owe you, Jordan.
Keep that override handy for when
hey, I've already gamed this out. So in a shocking move, Jordan has vetoed Civil War. So gosh.
I mean, I don't think it's a secret. The Cap trilogy is my favorite of all these.
Yeah, and I don't think it's an even worse kept secret that I like Captain America. So yeah, we'll talk about this maybe later. Cliff, you have to replace that pick. We like all these movies. We know you're going to put a movie that we like also, but we're we feel like we like that
Yeah.
one better than anything you could
Yeah.
pick.
And I like Captain America too, guys.
I don't
It's
know.
just- It's just, we're ranking, and maybe
Yeah.
that one's not as
That's
good
it.
as the other ones.
There's no easy picks from here on.
No, you did what you had to
So,
do.
yeah, so we are still at number 7 on the second go round. So I am going to pick the Avengers.
Oh, I was worried you were going to do that.
Oh my gosh.
Really good movie. Rewatched, like I said, rewatched it. But I just think when I compare them to, I remember this movie being the biggest thing, and just, being in love with this movie. I thought it was amazing. How in the world, who would have thought, we would have taken all these origin stories and actually turned them into, taking it where it should go. It's a cool movie. We get introduction, to the team and all that, but I just think there's some movies higher on my list than this one, except for Civil War.
And
Sure.
we've talked so many times about the difficulty of pulling this off, the novelty of it. No one's ever done this before. This was a brand new thing of having a whole bunch of movies and then tying them all together and making another bigger movie starring all those same people. Like, that's
Just like it was in the comics. Like with this specific story, they took all those singular comics and finally made a team.
and did the thing, growing up reading these books, dreaming and imagining, but it was impossible. This wasn't possible in Hollywood, and special effects and getting all the actors together to reprise the roles 15 times. This never happened until it did. So the fact that this movie exists at all is a miracle. And the fact that it's good and it's watchable and it's fun and it's exciting and it's a great film, that they paid it off. Started, in 2008 when Iron Man showed up. I remember having conversations with people like, no. Then they're going to do a Thor movie, and then they're going to do a Cat movie, and then way in the future there's going to be an Avengers movie. Can you imagine? Like we anticipated this movie for so long, and it paid it all off. I'm still to this day, we are decade past this movie, and it's still a marvel to me, I will say.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
still like
Thank
a core memory to me, like just to get this gift, like this whole thing we're talking about, this whole saga we're talking about is something that never should have happened. Like, I can't believe it happened, but this movie in particular, when it came together, just the team, the Natasha tied to the chair, probably that character's best scene ever. Gets the phone call. All right, well, she's got to bust out and do all that whipping ass, and it's just like they get all these characters right, and the casting's amazing. It starts with this, like yes, those singular movies, but like everybody's right. I don't even care what you say about Hawkeye. Like they got these people right, and we have all these moments because of it. They work because of it. The whole running gag with Hulk through the whole thing, like they can't make him angry no matter what. They're always surprised that he is not angry. He just takes everything in stride, and it pays off so huge at the end. That whole hero shot, at the end, what the camera swings around them and they play the Avengers theme. It's, oh man, it like makes me emotional, like so many things in these movies do.
And they filmed all that cool New York stuff in Cleveland.
I know. I was up there and saw the trucks with the the markings on it. I went up there to see a concert and was like walking. I was like, that says Avengers on it. That says Marvel. Like, this is amazing. And the whole, Coulson, I mean, this is never going to work if they didn't have something to avenge. And they
Yeah,
just they make it all work, and they have, and they use Loki just like the beginning of the Avengers comic. Loki instigates this team, and I just Cap's dishing out orders, Thor's doing lightning, Tony and Hawkeye doing their perimeter stuff, Widow's on the ground, and Hulk smashes. Like, I dig it from beginning to end. Teamwork and even the facing off a little bit when they're meeting each other, but Cap's a fish out of water. Yeah, it's his uniform's bad, but it gets better each time. But anyway, I freaking love it.
Yeah.
Joss
Cliff?
Whedon understood these characters for sure. And I can even, if you want to criticize anything about it, I would probably agree with you. Like, it is a little bit smaller. We only had a couple of characters, so the scale and the scope wasn't huge. It was a big CGI fight of faceless aliens.
Hole in the sky.
Like, I get it, but like I said, this movie means too much for me, and none of that stuff matters to me. No criticism. It's bulletproof to any criticism, just for the fact that it exists. The fact that it's in this world and we live to see it is a gift to me. And the fact that I still enjoy it and can still turn it on and watch different scenes. And so, I would have it anywhere. It could be number one on my list just for the emotional connection I have to it.
Yeah.
But is it the best movie on this list? I'm sure it's not. But it's such a monument.
Yeah, so just before you guys comment, I am not going to veto this because I thought he could do me worse. I thought he could do me worse here, and he didn't. We got I only had it honestly a couple slots higher, so I'm gonna leave it here.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, we're to the point now where you can make an argument for anything left to be number one, right? I mean, I think, I could see an argument for any of these movies left that could, possibly be number one. This one, to me, I had right about here on the list. I think I had it 6. And this was the proof of concept for this whole endeavor, right? It's like, was this even going to work? If this movie didn't work, we're not doing this list, right? Because we'd be in the, it'd be DC. It's like none of it wasn't going to work, and we'd be in a mess right now.
We wouldn't have horror.
So the fact that this worked gave us these other movies, which is great. But yeah, I mean, if you're being very critical and kind of stacking it up against these other movies at the top, it's probably not as good just a movie as some of these other ones that came later, I would say. But yeah, I can't argue with anything you said. Like you said, just it was the experiment that made all this other stuff work, and they nailed it, and it was great, and it's great that we have it.
A lot of weight on the fact that this exists. And there is a lot of sentimental value that I have with this movie. And that's why it was at number 2 on my list.
It could have been, man. I have moved my list around up to, a few minutes before we started. I've been moving things back and forth. I buzzed through so many of these movies today. Again, even after just watching them, I'm just like, it's like looking for that moment that's going to make that decision for me.
Yeah.
So I feel you, man.
And you guys have said a lot of the things that I would say, especially just looking at all of these characters on the screen and pulling this off. There's this big steamroller that's laying out the pavement to get to this movie. And are we going to get there? So many things could have went wrong. A lot of things could have went wrong to where this did not pay off like it did. And none of it did. And this shapes where we're at. Absolutely, it does. It shapes where we're at today. So, yeah, number 2. It hurts to see it go to number 7.
I
oh,
like you.
man.
You keep revealing your top 5 here bit by bit, and I'm like, I like his top 5 too. Like your top 5 sounds pretty cool.
Right.
And just how mainstream it was, how everyone went along with it,
Blew my mind.
how these weren't exactly, we have had X-Men movies and Batman movies, like, we know a lot of characters, but not everybody knew Iron Man or Thor or even Cap. He wasn't, except for those 90s rubber ear movies, like he wasn't a movie star. And society just said, okay, we'll go with this. We saw those other movies, they were good, let's do this one. And they never stopped going until last couple of years. But like you said, it proved that it worked, and everyone went with it, and everyone was happy to the stuff we complain about now, like, oh, I gotta watch all these previous movies. Like people wanted to. They were like, I'm on board.
Yeah.
I know these characters. Let's go. This is great.
Yeah, I think you make a good point of this being, just a pop culture thing. It wasn't, oh, that's nerdy, oh, that's a comic book movie. It wasn't any, it was like when Star Wars came out.
Yeah.
Star Wars wasn't nerdy, it wasn't comic book, it wasn't, oh, that's sci-fi, none of that crap. It was, man, this is awesome. Everybody loves it.
Yeah.
And that was, at the time, that was the experience with this movie. Now it's funny, when I went back and watched it, this one and a couple of the other ones, I was sitting there, and it's almost like I had forgotten, but I'm like, oh, there's Coulson. Holy crap. Like, wow, that feels like forever ago. I don't even think about him now. But he played such an
He has Cap playing cards or whatever, his collectible cards, and Fury put blood on him just to motivate them. Like, that's so badass. Like how he such the manipulator spy that Fury is, like, just amazing. It's amazing from top to bottom. And yeah, it just blew me away, just the fact, because I had no perspective. Like, I was so embedded with these characters, and then to watch Joe Schmo, at work. Well, I love Captain America. I'm like, yeah, I oughta.
Real quick, let me hijack things real quick. I want to ask, just go around the horn real quick. Favorite moment from the movie. Since I had it up so high, do me a favor and tell me your favorite moment. I want to tell you my favorite moment, and that is the Hulk Thor battle. That is my favorite. Hulk Thor, when they fight. That's my favorite moment from this movie. Jordan?
Oh, that's tough. But the first thing that springs to mind is probably Puny God.
Oh yeah.
That's a great one.
I couldn't even hear that line in the theater. People were cheering and laughing and screaming. So like I thought that's what he said, just knowing Hulk, puny human, all that stuff. I was like, but that just, yeah.
That's a good one. Jared?
Yeah. Again, I did not rewatch this recently, but yeah, the thing that's coming to my mind is it's the hero shot. I know that's the lame answer, but I mean, that's when I think about this movie, that's what I think about.
Yeah. Oh, I'm right on board.
The street, ready to go.
That's my secret, Cap. I'm always angry. That's it. I mean, that's the moment to me.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, the Puny God's pretty good. I like the scene on the ground when with Captain America and the cop, when the cop comes up and he's like, has no idea who he is. And then he beats the snot out of a couple aliens, and that cop's like, okay, I need a perimeter over here. I love that. I love that.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. I also really liked the Cap and Iron Man fixing the engine on the helicarrier too.
Seems to run on some type of electricity.
Yeah. You're not wrong. As he's shooting it at shield officers or whatever, but yeah, that's pretty cool too.
All right, well, we've waxed poetic long enough about Avengers. We're going to the number 6, and it's me. Oh my gosh, I knew that was coming, and yet I didn't. But I know what I'm putting here. I mean, it's the OG. What started it all. My number 6 is Iron Man. It was number 7 on my list, so I'm got to slot it in here at 6. It's amazing. It's the perfect casting. People, it blew my mind. People thought Iron Man was cool. Like, I could not fathom that people were thinking that. One of my best friends that never read a comic book in his life suddenly was like, I freaking love Iron Man, and he is my, that's the guy. And it's just like, it was such a accessible hero for, like, I don't know, the car guys, the people, the mechanics, because that's what this guy is. He's the mechanic, and just the beginning of his journey. And there's so much in this first movie that they take all the way to the end. They made Iron Man cool, and there's so many things in this movie that are incredible. The suit, like they totally got it right the first time. The first time they nailed it. Like, that's it. It totally relied on that. Like, if they had effed this up, we would not. I mean, it'd be one in 14 million other.
And again, that's with a lot of this, it's like, we wanted all this stuff in the 80s. We wanted an Iron Man movie, but it wouldn't have worked. It would have been a kind of weird, like, it worked. It happened when it needed to happen, right around the time the effects were good enough. The casting was perfect. The story was strong. So, like, there was some magic in the air that it might not have worked any other time or any other character. Like, if you had started with Thor, or maybe even First Avenger, Captain America, it might not have clicked. It might not have clicked with people in the same way. It may have still have existed. We may still have gotten the Avengers, but Iron Man was the right thing at the right time for mainstream success that just blew it out of the water. And I don't know, we've been kind of chasing that ever since, that perfect origin movie that like this is.
And just that beginning where he's the guy selling the bombs and stuff. He's the guy that, what they say, peace means having a bigger stick than the other guy, and he sells the sticks. This is, we get to, Pepper gives him the proof that Tony Stark has a heart in that movie.
Yeah,
that's in that movie. Yes, the first movie. And he says, I never got to say goodbye to my father. There's things I would have asked him and how he felt about this and that. I'm just like, in the first movie, it blew me away. Yeah, we get the Obadiah Stane. Like, I remember reading in that era in the comics, near 200, he gets different suits. We get Armor Wars and all that. Obadiah Stane's the big villain, and some of that is a little clunky late. That's why it's where it is on my list. But I think they freaking nailed it, and we are the beneficiaries of that. And of course, the end. I am Iron Man. I mean, epic reverberations feel like through my life, but over the next 15 years, and the beginning of the Avengers initiative, we get the Nick Fury stuff at the end. Like,
Goosebumps.
Who
Goosebumps.
exactly? Goosebumps the rest of this list. It's all goosebumps. So yes, sorry, please. I think it would be Cliff next.
The heft of this movie cannot be understated. Like, this is top 4 for me. I just feel like this, it's amazing after all these movies, after all these years, that I can still watch this movie and still be excited about it, as I was seeing that San Diego Comic-Con footage back in probably 2007.
2000. Yeah, okay, maybe it was 7. I thought it might have been 8, but yeah, you're probably right.
Whatever.
When they showed that stuff, like, people lost their minds, and we were like, oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember the mask slamming down. Like,
Right.
what?
Like it, I think this
we're just
movie
in
is,
awe. We're in awe.
yeah, I
And
think
so
this
you
movie
like it
is
so much, you're going to use
so-
your remaining detail.
it's so important because
It's
like you
pretty
said,
important.
nothing happens, nothing is the same without this movie at that moment
That's true.
with
So you're
that
using that veto?
actor. If it had been in the 80s or the early 90s and we got some crap ass Tom Cruise or Nick Cage or whoever goofball in that role, we needed the perfect goofball
Yes.
and somebody to love that character.
I think he literally was dragged out of somebody's house and put on the set of Iron Man.
And he wasn't a consensus choice. I remember fans like, is he really the right guy to play?
Right.
And the studio's worried that,
yeah,
what if he relapses and there's some, he ruins our movie? Like, he wasn't the obvious choice. When now we can look back and yes, there's no other human who could have done that part as well.
Mhm.
Right.
Again, it was a gamble. This was all a gamble, and he was a pretty big gamble for this role. And I think earned his paycheck for what he did setting up the Marvel Universe.
Yeah. So Cliff, what was your decision on your vetoes?
I didn't say.
Okay. Well, before we go any further, we need to know that.
Yeah, I did not say. Yeah, I just that really, really hurts me.
That really
far down
hurts.
the list.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm at this point. I could be fine with it here. I could be fine with it at number one. Like,
Right.
these movies are all so epic that
Yeah.
they're just gonna land where they land, I guess.
Okay. I will pass.
You
Okay. Okay.
I pass. Jordan has no vetoes, but if any of y'all have anything else to say about this movie.
I think it ended up number 5 on mine, so it's about where I had it. Yeah, I mean, as we talked about, this is the most clutch casting in movie hit. None of talk about not having a list. Yeah,
One-handed
without
catch.
Robert Downey Jr., we don't exist. I don't know what are we doing here. This doesn't exist. So yeah, most important casting. It was great.
But having Jon Favreau of all people do this movie, the guy that did, he hadn't even done that much at that point. I mean, he had a couple hits, but he was this, this guy that shows up on Friends or some oddball,
Swingers, he
side
was
character
swingers,
in a bunch of movies. And I just remember being like, who? Like, where does he get this job? How does he make this movie this good?
Right.
Like, and of course we know what he's done since then, but man, yeah, just this movie is so, I don't even mind. Like, I'm okay with the villain. Sure, he's not top 10 villain for me, but like, in a way he kind of is, because just like they got a really good actor to play this guy, and his interactions to go, kind of not be as quippy, but the back and forth between him and Tony Stark in that movie is kind of really cool, because he's playing Tony. Tony's out there making all this money and thinks, he's on top of the world, and he is, but then something terrible happens and this guy just swoops right in and just takes over and starts doing bad things, and Tony comes back and he's still doing bad things, and got a little lust for power there and ran with it. It's just, I love the scene where he's yelling at Peter Billingsley. He plays that little scientist guy, and they're trying to replicate the arc in power unit in Tony's chest, and he's screaming at him about Tony did this with a bunch of scraps. I love that scene.
I'm curious, for you guys that were a little more plugged into the nerd scene prior 2008, like, was the Samuel L. Jackson stuff a surprise to everyone? Like,
Oh yeah,
was that online? Like, everyone knew that was happening? or was that like
It wa-
I can't remember.
well, if you'd
too
told
long
me
ago.
there was going to be a Nick Fury, I'd have said it was going to be Samuel L. Jackson because
Yeah.
Mark Miller set
Right.
that up. He basically cast him in his comic book in the Ultimates universe.
Ultimates.
So I almost, I mean, obviously, it's obvious to us that when they were conceiving this, they definitely had that all wrapped into it. It was like, oh, as soon as they saw Samuel L. Jackson in that comic book, they thought, we could do this. Like Mark Miller inadvertently caused a lot of this to happen.
I was trying to think too, because like Jordan, I feel like you and I went and saw this in theaters together, and I remember sitting there for that end credit scene. But like, how did we know to sit there for the end credit scene? I assume you had gleaned it from the internets or something. Like, of course, we all know now. I'm trying to remember that first movie. We didn't. Who knew?
That's
Now
a
we
good
sit through
question.
every credits, just hoping there
Yeah.
any movie
Yeah.
that comes out.
Yeah.
we'll sit
Every
through like,
movie.
I'm sitting at Barbie like, what?
Yeah.
There's gonna be some what that? I don't know.
Waiting
Yeah,
for
I'm
the Bratz
sure
dolls
there
to
was
show up
some kind
mid credits.
I'm sure there was some kind of push of like stick around. Like, yeah, there had to be something like that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think there was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like it was a surprise. I feel like it was like, holy crap, that's Sam Jackson. Holy crap, that's Nick Fury. Holy crap, he said the word Avengers. So
Yeah. Right.
Oh,
Yeah, I think I had this at number 4 on my list. So
Wow.
Cliff said top 4. I imagine that's probably where. But yeah, I had it at number 4, and I think a lot of it is because it is the thing that got everything started. I did go see this in theaters, and I had a great time. Very excited for what was about to come. Some of the promise that was about to happen. The end credit scene, just like you guys said, got me psyched. Like, okay, are we going to do something? And the ball started rolling. And I mean, my gosh, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. I mean, that's something that he will have for the rest of his life, because he did, not just Iron Man, he did Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, and he's in the Avengers movies. And I mean, my goodness, no one
and
else, Spider-Man, no one else, portrayed that character, or at least just looked at home as Tony Stark. And he's become Tony Stark in a lot of people's eyes.
He recontextualized all the comic books before that. Like that character, even if you read back issues, you kind of put it in that light. Like
you do.
Yeah.
You really do.
It's neat.
So yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't argue with you.
Not
guys
gonna pull
putting
out your
numbers-
guest veto.
No, I'm saving that one for later. I would have done that last pick,
He's been
probably.
photoshopping some kind of thing.
All right.
All right, so think of the patience we used to have. All right, Iron Man, May 2nd, 2008, kicked it all off. So we got Hulk in June of that year, which we had talked about was a little bit of a retcon. It wasn't planned to be part of this. The next movie was Iron Man 2 in 2010. It was 2 years before we got another Marvel movie. Then Thor was May of 2010. Thor was May 2011. Cap was July of that year. And then we didn't get Avengers till May 2012. We used to get one a year, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And we liked it.
Yeah. Guess what? You better get used to that again.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's gonna feel like coming home. So
Well,
yeah,
in a surprising twist, this is the end of the episode. And we're gonna I think I'm gonna go long, is what I'm saying, in these top 5.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need to cut it off here as an episode.
Ow.
Works. What a twist. So that was the last out of phase 1. So Iron Man is our top movie in phase 1. All that's left are phase 2 and 3. So we'll be back to finish this up quicker than we have been. You won't have to wait till 2012 to listen to this.
You get one a year.
All right, thanks to our guests. They are non-participating guests.
That would suck.
It does.
All right, we'll be back. My name is Jordan.
Cliff.
I'm Seth. Bye forever.
Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, at gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, join our Patreon at patreon.com/udownwithkpp for special content and access to Patreon-only benefits. We are grateful for anyone who chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will remain free. So please continue to like, comment, and share.